Good day, everybody. Good morning. It is a leg day today. We're getting our lower body workout with a nice core circuit to finish. So let's get you guys started with what equipment we're using, which starts off with this chair that I was just sitting on. We are going to incorporate a chair. We're doing some hip thrusts today, so that guy will come into play later on as we actually start the workout, as well as my dumbbells, my loop bands, your weighted household items and such to help weight our squats and our lunges and such. So let's get you guys started with a warm up. The other thing that I do want to note before we start here is I am wearing some shoes. We are going to do a couple exercises that have us going like up onto our toes and into some jumping stuff with the option, of course, for the low impact peeps. So I am wearing shoes today. So let's get you guys on the floor with some room. To start, we're gonna lay on our side. We're doing our bow and arrow. So I want you guys laying on our side here. We're gonna take this top leg and weave it underneath the bottom leg so that we're in this position here. Knee is down on the floor. We're gonna try our best to keep this knee down on the floor. Stack the arms, stack the shoulders. We'll take a big breath in and then exhale and we'll cross over and see if we can get this entire hand, arm, shoulder, everything on the floor. And then right away we'll reach up and over our head and come back to the center. So we'll start off doing 10 of these on each side, ideally with enough room over here to fully extend your arm, reaching it up and over, and then doing it again. So we're not spending too much time over there. We're not stretching yet. I mean, yes, there's a little bit of a stretch here, but we're trying to stay dynamic, stay moving as we go through this. We'll go through 10 on this side. Again, trying to keep that knee down. And then wherever the shoulder gets, that's all good. And then we'll switch and do 10 on the other side. So we'll go through the 10. I'm gonna flip around so I can still see you guys. And then we'll flip over and switch sides. So again, we'll start off with the legs stacked on top of each other. We'll take the top leg and then weave it underneath the bottom one. Straighten out that bottom leg, arms together, and then we cross. Try to get this hand flat and then reach up and over, taking out anything in your way. My plants, the wall, no. So we'll reach. If you need to bend the arms slightly, that's fine. And we'll go through 10. So we're trying to breathe as we go through this. Most likely you guys are doing this first thing either in the morning or first thing after not doing too much before. So we'll ease into this one and try to breathe into it and see if, as we go through our reps, we can get a little looser. So once you guys are done, we will sit up into our 90-90 position that we know and love so well. So we have 90 degrees at both of our knees. We're gonna flip over the legs right and left, just starting with basic flipping of the legs side to side, trying to keep our feet in place. And if you need to use your arms, you guys know the drill, that's fine. A little bit of support. I see my feet are kind of cut out here. We're going to pause on one side and we're going to go through the lifting of this knee. So we'll try to get our hips down on the floor, not forcing anything. Same idea if you need to use the arm slightly. And I'm just going to adjust my camera slightly so you guys can see what's happening with my knees. I'm trying to lift up my knee off of the floor. Yes. And here we go. All right. So we'll go through 10 and then we'll flip over and do that on the other side here, 10. Same thing on the other side, trying to get both your cheeks on the floor. A little bit of support from the arms is okay. And we're going through 10. So you might feel a little crampy in the hips. Once you're done 10 on that side, we'll once again go back and forth about 5 times just to help loosen up those hips there. And then we're going to stand ourselves up back to the top. So you guys can stand yourselves up. And I'm going to move my camera back up. Okay, so we'll get ourselves into a more narrow than squat stance. So I'm just underneath my hips and my toes are pointed forward. I'm going to extend my arms above my head, straight arms, soft knees, going through an overhead hinge. So I'm trying to hinge at the hips, push my hips back, and then pull my hips forward, keeping my arms lifted, reaching above my head so that I never see my hands. Because if I see my hands, my arms are probably too low. And we're going hips back, hips forward, 10 reps. Trying to feel the stretch, the back of the legs, back of the hips, and then the squeeze up to the top. So we'll go through 10 of those. Again, reaching the arms over the head. Yes, never seeing those hands. Looks great. 10 of them. Okay, so we're in that more neural stance. What I want you guys to do is step out a little bit. We're adding in that slight flare out or angle into our toes. Sticking our arms back up above our head. Maybe your shoulders are burning a little bit. That's what we're going for. Now we're going to sink down into an overhead squat. Going through 10 reps of these ones. Same idea with our hands. We never want to see them. So keep them reaching up and behind your head as much as you can. Trying to keep your arms straight, which might feel like a little bit more of a challenge in this one. There's like a prerequisite of mobility that you need in order to sit down with the arms above the head. So play around with how low you're going. If you feel like you can't go so low, your arms start dipping, just don't sit so low. So we'll go through 10 reps of those ones. And then, if I do recall, yes, we are back down on the floor. So we got 2 more exercises to go through here for our warm-up. The next one is about your core, it's about your hips. We're on our back here, we're gonna get ourselves into this bridge position. My feet are hip width apart, and I'm going to lift up one leg at a time, walking in this bridge position, shifting the weight right to left. Before I lift up my leg of that opposite side, I want to stabilize my hips and squeeze my butt, and then lift up that opposite leg. So we're going through 20 reps total, trying to keep our core nice and tight, which, if you need a reminder of, starts at the bottom here, pushing that back down and then keeping that feeling as you go through your set. So we're trying our best in this one to avoid movement in our hips and our body. So try your best to keep those guys as still as possible, and you should feel some work happening in your butte and your glutes as you are keeping those hips up. So we'll go through 20 total. You should be feeling that not only in your glutes but also in your core. Once you're done, we're going to lift up our legs, lift up our arms, go through a dead bug to get that core nice and fired up, ready to go here. So we'll take our palm, opposite leg, and we'll extend the 2 that are not together down, trying to keep that lower back down as the priority. So if you can't do that, then we can bend that leg instead. Try doing it like so. So we'll go through 10 on this side and 10 on the other side, trying to keep as tight as possible between this hand, this leg, squeezing those 2 together. So we really feel that work happening in our core and our abs. And we'll go through 10. And then you can switch and do 10 on the other side. And then we're going to stand you guys up. There you go. That one is yes. Should feel it all up in the Okay. So 10 and 10, you guys. Oh, once you are done, feel nice and fired up. I'm always talking about your guys' built-in weight belt that you have. You have it, it's called your core muscles. So by doing this little dead bug activation exercise before we go into the next few lower body focused exercises, we just ensure that this is all ready to go and support ourselves and our torso as we go through this stuff. So first exercise that we're going to start with is a single exercise. We're doing hip thrusts. Welcome back here. If you guys were here last week, we have been starting with our hip thrusts, doing them today with my upper back elevated on this chair. If for some reason you guys do not have a chair, you can do this off of a floor, or if you have like a stair or a stool, you can flip around and put your legs up on it, which I'm not going to show you because I don't have that here, but that's another way to make this a little bit harder than simply just doing it off the floor, which is a completely valid option. So if you don't have a chair, you can just lay down on the floor and follow along. So what we're going to do is 3 sets of hip thrusts in a rest pause method technique. So how this is going to work, you guys are going to get yourself into formation. We're going to incorporate some resistance, whether it's the bands or the dumbbells, but let's start off body weight and we'll talk about what we want in this set. So we have our upper back on our bench, our chair, our couch, ottoman, whatever it is. We want to bring our ribs and pelvis together, so we're doing a little bit of a crunch right off the bat. So you guys see that bit of a crunch there, and then I'm going to drive my hips up to the top, squeeze my hips, and we'll go through 10 reps trying to find that feeling in our glutes. So you might have to play around with that crunching feeling, tilting your pelvis under and up towards the ceiling. So we'll go through 10, trying to get that feeling with no resistance. If you have to hold it there for a second, same thing on the floor, you might have to pause a couple of your reps to really squeeze the butt. And then once you're done 10, we'll grab onto whatever equipment we're going to use. So if you have bands, you can use these guys, put them around your knees for that banded lateral resistance. So it's going to help us include more of our glute, our hip muscles. That is an option. We can also take weights and actually put them on top of our hips, which is going to help us, again, just target more of our butt, but not so much of like the side butt muscles, more of like your actual hip muscles that are helping us push up our hips. So ideally, weight on the hips. Second best is bands around the knees. You can also do both of those things if you feel like you really want to get it going on today. So what we're going to do is go into this. I have my dumbbell, which I highly prefer to start up in this position just for safety reasons, and lower myself down onto the chair, onto the bench, whatever it is. So get yourself into position, whether you're using the band, the dumbbell, or both. And we're going to go through our first official set where you guys are doing 15 reps. 1-5, let's do it. So I'm keeping that crunched feeling with my core, my chin is tucked, and I'm looking down the entire time. I'm never looking up or back, because as soon as I do that, I start to open up my ribs, and I start to have this rib flare-out situation, which puts pressure on my lower back. So by keeping that chin tucked and looking down, I ensure this stays nice and tight. So we're doing 15. Once you're done 15, we can sit on a chair, we can sit on the floor. It doesn't really matter where you go, but don't go too far, because we're going to take about 30 seconds and do another set of 15. So we're not taking quite as much rest as we normally would, as we would if we were to superset this or do this normally. We're taking a little bit less rest, which is going to help us really get the muscles that are doing the hip thrust working, which is your butt. So grab your weights. We're doing it again, starting right now. So again, I like to start at the top, and let's go. So second set, 15 reps. This is the number to be, and we are doing them. So because we didn't take that much rest, we're most likely gonna feel this set a lot more than that first one, without having to think about it as much. So we'll go through whichever one you guys are doing. If you're working off of the floor, and we can have the weight on the hips, your feet can be elevated, and we're doing the 15 reps. So once you're done, same thing here. We're resting for about that 30 seconds. Then we're going to do one more set with this little bit of rest here. Again, you can hang out on the floor, you can sit on your chair, your bench, you can stand up and walk it off if that feels like something that you want to do right now. But don't go too far, because you need to get back into it in really about 10 seconds if you stop when I stop there. So after this set, we're going to incorporate another exercise in with the hip thrust, which we're going to talk about when we get there. But we need to finish our last set in this method. So get in there. We're going to do our last set of 15 right now. Let's start it up. If you haven't already, get into it. Let's do it, and then we are going to move on. So the bands. Okay, so you guys are going through your 15 reps, the same as you did on those first 2 sets. We're doing one more set of it. Same idea, probably feel it a lot more. So if you use the band or the weights, whatever, we're doing the same thing here. Going through our 15 reps. For the butt, the glutes, the hips, where we want the work. So take a sweet time, you guys, and once you are done, you can stand up to the top. Unband, put your weights down, keep them close though, because we're going to use them to go into our next exercise, which is going to be our step back lunge. Welcome back. So today we're going to go through this step back lunge a little different. We're going to front load the weight. Recently we've been holding the weights down here like so, which makes it so it's a very lower body leg focused situation. By holding the weights in the front here, if you're using dumbbells, that's going to make us use our core, our upper body a little bit more than just holding the weights down here, which is why I want you guys to try and do this. If you have heavier weights, you can hold one sideways like this, either or. I got 8ers, so I'm going to use them both, and we're going to go through a step back lunge where we stand and drive the knee up at the top. So we're going back into the lunge, up with that knee drive, working with 10 reps on each side with this weight front loaded, not resting on your chest, resting on your shoulders, and we're doing 10 per side. So you guys can start that up. If you are working with bands, you're going to do the same thing that we did last week if you guys were here, where we anchored that band around our opposite foot, as this is pretty much the only way to safely use this band to add resistance to this lunge. So again, we're trying our best to balance at the top so that we're not touching that foot down, so that we can get all those little stabilizing, balance, burning muscles working on that one. 10 and 10. Once you guys are done, we are going back into the hip thrust. So now we're going to incorporate that exercise in with this one to make this a superset. So we do the 10 and the 10, and then we come back here. Ideally, I would like you guys to use the same resistance that you used on those first 3 sets. So if you had weights on your hips, if you had bands around your knees, whatever it was, we're going to do it again. So get yourself into position, weights on the hips, and we're doing our third last of 3 sets. So we're going to do this one and 2 more of these hip thrusts, but now we're doing these step back lunges in between them. So same rep count on these ones, 15 reps, and you guys, you should be feeling your butt. Like, no questions asked. If you're not, same idea, just slow it down, hold it, don't leave the top until you start to feel. And start that at the beginning of your set on those first 5 reps. Then when you get to the next 5 and the last 5, you don't have to think about it. It just feels and you know your butt is working. So because we are incorporating 2 butte, glute-focused leg exercises together, they're both really hard. You're feeling your legs a lot. We're going to take some rest now, longer rest than we did with the first rest pause method. So we'll keep it under a minute, about 45 seconds now, where you guys can sit, you can stand, you can grab water, you can do whatever you want. But we're just going to take a memento before we go into our next set so that we can have a nice strong set, because we have to do 2 more of them with that same situation, the lunges and the hip thrusts. And yeah, you guys are most likely feeling that set of hip thrusts in theory. So grab your water. When you're feeling ready, we can go into our next set. We're going to do 2 more in the same fashion, and then we are moving on from hip thrusts. Yay! So grab your weights if you're using them, and let's start it up. Front loading those bad boys, stepping back into the lunge, and then driving the knee up. So we're going through the 10 and the 10. Yes. Okay, those of you who do not have any weights or anything like that, you know the drill. You always just do the same exercise, just holding your hands where those weights would be. Balancing, it's always harder when you're looking to the side. But balance really does come into play in this one, so I want you guys to really hone in on that. Tap into those balance muscles. See if you can really get that work. And if you are struggling with balance in this, just remember to keep your entire foot really flat on the floor. It really helps when you stand it on one leg. So we'll go the 10 and the 10. We got the hip thrusts. And then we have 1 more round of these 2. We are moving on. Yes. So when you are done those lunges, we're going to go right into the hip thrust, no rest in between. Get those done 15 of them, and then we will take that about a minute of rest, just under a minute. There we are. For the glutes. Good work, you guys. So we're going through these 15 reps, feeling the back of our hips, trying to keep that core positioning, belly button tucked in. We don't want that rib flare out. You guys got it. Okay, 15. And then we rest. Good job, guys. So we'll take this time now to think about how that felt. Hopefully it felt good, but also maybe a little bit bad, like you wanted to stop. You should be wanting to not do any more than 15. So if you were feeling like, you know, you could get more reps than 15, we're gonna try our best to not make that happen on our last set. We want to not get any more than 15. So take a sec right now, you guys. H2O time. It's a great time to get that in. Then we're gonna go into our final set of both of these, and we're going to try to make it our strongest set. So when you are feeling ready, we're gonna start our final set here. We have, so much time. You guys have about 3 minutes before we need to move on and start the next part here. So lunges, 10 and 10. We're holding that front-loaded weight in the front here to help get our core, our ab muscles working a little bit more in those step back lunges. And then we have the 15 hip thrusts. Let's get it. Final set. Let's do it. So we're holding the weights up, chest up nice and high. And then we're working, tapping into that balance, trying to drive that knee up just to 90 degrees. No higher than 90, woo, balance. Because if we bring this knee any higher, usually what happens is we start to bend the bottom one, which we do not want. So just make sure that's not happening. But you know, that takes more energy to lift up the knee higher, so I don't think you're gonna do it, but maybe 10 of them. Final set of these lunges. So let's get them in the last set. There you go. Good work, you guys. So we'll get both legs in. Final round of our hip thrusts. And we are done the hip thrust. Today, we got some single-legged ones later this week, but today this is all that we need. So let's finish up this final set here. Knowing this is your last set, making it as strong as possible. Like I was saying there, try those first 5 reps to really make those feel. Go up and hold, and do not leave until you feel your butt. And then you slowly go down. You're really building up on that tension every single rep. And that way you don't have to think about, you know, having to really hold the last one because you've done that already. By the time you get to 15, you are done. You need to stop because your butt is working. It's on fire. So 15 of them. Get them in. And next part. Yes. Nice job, you guys. Let's do it with the wet. Okay. Once you are fin, grab some water again. Nice work, you guys. We are going to move on here. We got about a minute. So we need to start the next part, which I am going to start explaining right now. So we're going to move on here. Next part, you will not need your bench or chair, but we will need it again for the last superset that we're going to do, which is after this. Single leg deadlifts. Hey, you know, balance, we're back up in it. So we're going to go through another sort of balanced, focused exercise, but in theory it should be a little easier because we've already kind of woken up those balance muscles. So what I'm going to do is have my weights again. This time I'm going to hold both of them on one side. So if you have heavier dumbbells, you can simply just grab a heavier dumbbell. But if you have lighter ones, we're going to stack them to make one heavier dumbbell. Standing on the opposite leg that I'm holding this weights on. Nice posture, soft knee. We're starting already with balance. And then we're going to hinge our hips by pushing our hips back. And then we pull the hips forward. So we're working with 15. Is our number to beat, just as we did last week. Nice slow and controlled reps, trying to really tap into our balance, You guys can start right now. If you do not have weights, we're working with those bands, same fashion as the lunges where we have it anchored around that opposite foot. Woo! The balance. And we're working through these. So we're trying not to touch that foot down. Straight leg but soft knee. We don't want the leg to bend as we go through, but we want it slightly bent the entire time. So we'll go 15, 15. Glutes, butt, working. There you go. Nice job, you guys. So again, we're getting a little bit more core focus by having those weights on the one side here. You should feel maybe a little bit in your core, a little bit in the lower back, simply just because it is working a bit harder than if we were to hold them on both sides. So we'll get those 15 in. And then switch legs, of course, do the other side. And of course, we are pairing this with an exercise because, you know, it's that time of the workout where we're doing all our supersets. So as you guys come to an end here, we are pairing this with squats. So we're going to go through 10 weighted squats, holding the weights front-loaded style, just as we did in those lunges, with the option, of course, to band your knees. So whether you have weights or not, if you have bands, you can add bands around your knees to make this a bit more hard for your glutes and your hips, just as the hip thrust. So we can put this band around our knees if you guys would like, in addition to or instead of the dumbbells up here. So we're going in a squat stance. I'm going through 2 seconds up, 2 seconds down, squat tempo, normal tempo, 10 reps. So you guys can start right now, 1, 2, 1, 2. Once we're done 10, whether it's with the band or with the weights, we're going to put the weights down if we have them. So I'll let you guys go through your 10. And we're going to finish off with 20 now squat jumps or 20 squats with no weights involved if you do not jump. So if you jump, we are jumping, counting 20 of them in that same stance. You can use your arms to help get up a little bit higher. And if you do not jump, we're just body weight, getting our butts down as low as we can, working with 20 squats. Woo, it's a burner. And this is our superset. So once you guys are finished this, we're gonna do it 3 more times to make it 4 sets total. With these 2, you can take a slight bit of rest. We don't need quite as much as we took in the last superset with the lunges and the hip thrusts, but take about 30 seconds here just to let your heart rate come down a little bit if you were jumping especially. And again, so we can make sure we have a nice strong set. So grab yourself some water if you need. When you're feeling ready, we're gonna go into our next set. So back into our single leg deadlifts, opposite soft knee, and then we go down and forward. So hips back, hips forward. Arm that is not holding the weights in the band is out and strong. And that helps us promote that strong core, strong posture. We don't want that like wet noodle arm. We want it to be nice and tight and strong. And we are breathing as we go through these. 15. So back of the hips, your butt should be feeling in these ones. Your hamstrings, back of the legs, especially as you get up towards the 15, 10, 11, up to 15, it should burn back there in the best way possible. So second set, you guys, take your sweet time. Again, with both of these, we're following that normal tempo, 2 up, 2 down. There we are. Okay. Burn on in the hips. So we'll go through the 15, the 15. With the balance. So hopefully you felt what I was kind of saying, how maybe it's a little bit easier. Maybe as you go through your sets, you feel like you don't kind of fumble over as much. You know, you're getting more tired, yes, but all your stabilizing muscles are really woken up as you start to use them, which is why I want you guys to really work with that balance. So again, when we are done, we're going into those squats, weighted ones, front loaded, banded around the knees, normal tempo, 10 of them. So we're holding the weights in front of us. Once we're done, we're going to put them down and work with 20, double the amount, squat jumps or quick squats if you are low impact. So if you're jumping, we know the drill. We want a nice soft landing. We don't want to make any noise when we land. And that is for the sake of our joints, for your knees, for your hips, your ankles. We try to land as softly as possible. And move as quickly as possible. Let's get it done. 20 of them. And then we will rest. That is your second set done. We're going to do 2 more. So same idea here. Take this moment of rest. Time to grab water. Woohoo! But not too much time. Cause, yeah, no, we do have lots of time. You guys have about 6 minutes to finish this up. So let's get into it. So again, we are limiting our rest. So when you guys are starting to feel ready, we're gonna go right into that 3rd set. So we gotta get through 2 more. And these 2 exercises. So we're back into our first one of those single leg deadlifts. So if you guys are not feeling this in your hips, because this is one that for some people it's foolproof, you don't have to think about it at all. For others, you might feel other things, your lower back, the front of your legs, other places like that. So one really common thing that happens in this is opening up that back foot here and kind of tilting the body open. So what we can do to fix that is simply just close that back foot, which closes off this hip, which puts all the focus on this leg over here. Whereas when I'm open like this, I start to feel my back, I feel my knee, I feel all sorts of stuff. And so that might just be happening because as your body gets tired, it starts to do weird stuff. It does stuff that you can't control without thinking about it. And so this is something that you can control, you just have to think about it. And so closing off that foot, very simple. And you can actually watch, you can see what your foot is doing. Is it doing this? If it is, it's probably happening at the bottom as well. So see if you can close that off there. And that's not for everyone, it's just for those of you who maybe aren't feeling this in the right place. Or, as you start to get tired, if you don't feel it as much, see if you can stick that foot in. So we got 15 and 15. Now we got 3rd set. Do this just one more time after this one. So if you guys are working with the bands, I suppose you've already gathered this, but we want the band right above or right below the knees if you're working with them on your squats. Again, we can have them with the weights, just the band, or just the weights, depending on what you have available. But what this band is doing is it wants my knees in, which you guys can see. So I'm having to really work it more in my hips to keep those knees out. So we can go through those, and then again, we can go through the squat jumps. If you want to take the band off or leave it on, it's gonna make them harder. So if you leave it on, you're gonna feel that band a little bit more than if you don't. Okay, so rest when you are finished. Ooh, the 20, 2-0. It's like 15 is high for us, but we are doing a 20 today. And we'll rest a little bit. You guys have 1 more round of these 2, and we're moving on. After this, we have 2 more exercises to do for our leggies. And then we are all focused on our core, and then we're done, because we're almost there. I'm trying to hype you guys up. So finish up strong here. We'll take rest. Woo! We have about 3 minutes, plenty of time, just enough actually to finish up our final set here with this little bit of rest. So grab some water, you guys. Whew. Take a couple deep breaths. Think about how you're feeling right now. We're going to do 1 more round of these 2 and move on to the last 2. Okay. So regroup for a quick sec. When you feel ready, which is definitely, hopefully within less than a minute, we are going to do it again. So you guys can get started. The quicker you start, the quicker you will be done. So let's get into it. Going through a nice, again, normal tempo on these. We know the drill with all of our strength stuff by now, especially the slower we go, the harder. So especially on this last set, if you kind of felt like it wasn't the hardest thing in the world, or you want to just kind of go out with a bang, slow down a little bit on this final set here. The whole entire time, but especially on the way down on all these exercises, on our deadlifts, on our squats. The slower that you go on the way down, you can still go up nice and fast. Slow on the way down, it's going to make it a lot harder than following that 2 seconds, 2 seconds. Try it out though if you want. Last set. Let's get it. So final set, you guys, let's start if you have not already. We gotta start so we can finish, or move on rather, to the last part. So remembering that foot turning in, making sure those hips are even, making sure all that work is staying focused on that opposite leg. Yes. Let's get it. Strong arm, looks really good. So we'll go through our 15. There we are. Last set, you guys. Let's get it in. So we'll do both sides. When you are done, we're going right into our squats. So again, we'll finish up here, trying to keep consistent with that balance, as consistent as we can. And then once we're done, we're going right into our second exercise, those squats, the 10 of them. Same idea here, we can go a little bit slower if we want in the last set. Make it a little bit harder for ourselves. 10 of them. And then 20 squats. The last one of this superset. We're gonna move on. Let's get it. Okay, so 10, take them nice and slow. And we're gonna finish off with the 20 with the jump, or the 20 quick body weight, working fast. And 20 of them, let's go. All right. So we're trying to get these ones done as quickly as possible. Do not take your time. Try to get them done and then be done with them. You can grab yourself a little bit of water. When you are finished, we are going back to our bench, our chair. So if you need to bring it back out, you can bring them out, bring them over. Good job, you guys. So grab some water. We're going to move on to the next part and the last part, which we should start right now. Let's get into it. So our first exercise we're going to go through is our one leg get up. That's going to start off sitting down on our chair, our bench, our couch, and we're working with this leg, and I'm going to get up with one leg. So we're trying our best to balance. Here we are again on this one side here, keeping this leg lifted up the entire time, and my arms are helping me to send my hips back and pull my hips forward. So we're going to start off body weight, working with 10 reps on each side. So we're going to do 10 on this side, you can switch, and we'll do 10 on the other side. If you find this is too challenging, maybe you have some knee stuff going on, another way you can try doing this is a staggered stance. So you have your feet beside each other, we're going to move one out a little bit, focusing on the close one, but this one doesn't leave the floor like it did before. And so it's giving us a little bit of assistance without, too much, or without none at all with the leg lifted. So we're going to do 10 and 10 of those ones. Yes. Okay. Once you guys are done, we're pairing this one with a sumo squat to double calf raise. So we're in a nice wide stance. Weights, if you would like to add them, you can hold them in front of you here. We're not going to add any bands to this one. We're just going to go body weight or dumbbells at the front here, sitting down into a sumo squat. So I'm trying to get my butt down 90 degrees at my knees rather than the deadlift. Deadlift's up here. So I want the butt down, and then I'm going to come up onto the toes twice and then go back down. So 1, 2, back down. So if you're holding the weight at the front here, you can keep it Load it in the front just like we did in the lunges and the squats so that it's not resting on top on your chest here. And we are doing 10 of those total. So we're wide, we go down, and we go 1, 2. And that's 1 rep and balance. And that's 2. And you guys are working with these ones. So we're trying to get our hips down as much as we can. And 10 of them. There you go. The calf raises. Sneaking those guys in there. All right. So with these two, trying not to take too much rest in between. So once you're done with sumos, try to just go right into our next set here, completing 3 more of them. Back to our 1 leg get-ups. Now if you want to make these a little bit harder, if you have something weighted to hold, you can hold it. Now it's going to add weight to your body, like if you were to hold a weight here, which can make this harder, of course, because you're heavier now in terms of how much weight you're holding, but you can also use it a little bit to your advantage by extending it out, and leverage makes it a little bit easier. So if you want to do it with a leg up and you can't, you can also try holding a weight and see if that makes it more possible for you. So you can try that out, or just stick at body weight and try to just work your way up to, not using that bottom leg. So 10 and 10, yes. 10 on each side, and then we're back to the sumos with the double calf raises. There you go. So ideally, in this one, you want to find something to sit on that your knee is at 90 degrees. If it's any lower than this, it's going to be really hard. And if it's any higher than this, it's going to be easier. So if I had like a taller chair, it would make this exercise a lot easier. So that's something that you guys can do if you need to make this a bit easier, is grab like another cushion or a couple towels or something to sit on, and it's going to elevate you and make this a lot more possible if you're kind of stuck in between. Because we just started working on this one, and you might kind of have an idea of where you're at now. You might want to find ways to, get stronger at this one and better at this one. All right, so we got these sumos in that wide stance, the toes out. We sit down, and then we'll come up onto the double calf raises. So unless you got some knee stuff going on here, 90 degrees is the goal. If you have, sensitive or sore knees, you can sit above 90, that's totally fine. But we'll try to still keep our hips going down rather than back, like the deadlift. We want to sit our butt down, even if we don't go so low, even if we're just right here. That's totally fine. But that's going to help us get some work in the front of our legs, as opposed to the deadlift, which is much more back of the legs. But we already did so much work for the back of your legs. Got more here right now, of course, but we want to work those quads as well. So we're going through these 10 double calves, and you guys are doing it again. We got to do 2 more rounds, and then we're down on the floor for your core, which takes us about 12 minutes. We got time with it. We got lots of time. All right, so let's get into it. 3rd set of 4. Let's do it. So if you're working with this staggered stance, I just moved the heel of my foot beside my toes of my opposite foot. We're working the closer leg rather than the further one. Now we don't want too much weight on this, so if you need a reminder, you can lift up onto your heel or lift up onto your toe, just to remind yourself to not use this leg, because sometimes you'll just end up kind of standing up with both, and it's not really giving you that single leg work, single leg aspect. So try to shift it onto one, and you can always kind of work into that. So you can start off doing, with the leg lifted. Do as many as you can like this, even if it's 2 or 3 or 5, whatever it is. And then when you can't do them anymore, you can put that heel down and start to finish off your set with the staggered stance ones. So try to do that if you have not already. See what happens in your last set here. So we'll go through the sumos, and then we have 1 more round. Woohoo! And then we got the best part, the core. The core. All right, so we're weighting it, we're holding weights in front of us, working with this double calf, trying not to relax our heels in between the raise. We go up, we come down, but we don't relax down, and then we go back up, and then we come down. So we'll go through 10 of those. It's a little coordination there, counting. Once you're done 10, you have to just do this one more time, which I think we can handle. All right. Final set, you guys. So we'll try to get into it, get it done, so that we have the full amount of time to finish the last part, which we need to start like in the next minute. So let's get to it. We'll finish up this final set here and do a quick transition down onto the floor. So we're working with these 10 and 10. And yes, let's get it. So final set of them, 10 reps on each side. We got it. Okay, you guys are working with your sumos. Let's get it in. So final set, we have the sumo squat to double calf raises. It is our final lower body strength exercise that you guys are going to go through. Yes, so get it in. Finish it strong. 10 reps of them. And then you're going to come kick it down here on the floor with me, where we're going to finish you guys up with a nice core circuit done off of the timer, which is great news. This workout has been quite a bit of counting, and this means you don't have to count, you just have to do. So we're going to get down here, and we don't need any equipment, we just need a body. Well, you need this mat for a little bit of a comfier surface to lay on. We're starting you guys off with our half side plank with the leg lift. We're going to be working off of the timer, 40 seconds on, 20 seconds off. So we're going to hold for 40, switch, hold the other side for 40, and then I will show you guys the other 2 exercises that we are doing within the circuit, and we're going to repeat 3 rounds of the following. So half side plank with leg lift. Welcome back. We haven't had this one the last few workouts, but we are back up in it in our program. So we're lifting up into this position here. We're going to hold this, at least this, for 40 seconds. So I want you guys to get into position, specifically in this half kneeling or half side plank position, so we can target more of our hips. So get it here, hips forward. I'm going to press start in 3, 2, here we go. So we're lifting up the arm, extending the leg if we can. Now for some of us, this is going to be too hard. We might have to bend that leg back in. We might even have to put our foot down, but we'll try to keep that knee up off of the other knee. If you're good here, you can work with these little lifts, holding for 20 more seconds. When in doubt, just hold this position. But we want to keep those hips pushed forward and stay breathing. Do not hold your breath. We have 10 seconds left, so stay with us. When in doubt, just relax, but stay in the side plank. 3, 2, and now we rest. Switch sides, so you can just flip over or turn around if you want to still look over here. We have this full 20 seconds of rest, so don't hop right into it. We'll wait for this beep, but it's only 20 seconds, and it starts in 3, 2, 1. So get into formation, hips forward, lifting up. Same thing that you did on that first set. So maybe you started here, you were like, oh, that's too hard, so you brought it in. You tried to keep this knee up, so you're trying to work it the same, hips forward. And maybe you were out here doing this little lift. We want the chest open, and you guys are breathing for 20 more seconds. Yes, we got this. There we go. There it is. Hips forward, you guys. Breathing. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Hollow hold is next. Welcome back. We're gonna lay on our back now, get ourselves into our dead bugging position. So arms up, legs up, squishing that lower back into the floor. I'm gonna lower my arms down and crunch my shoulder blades off the floor, tuck the chin in, and this is our hollow hold, level 1. So get here with me, squishing back down. If you're good here, we can reach the arms over our head, and we're just gonna hold this position. If this is still kind of easy, you can extend a leg, or you can extend both legs, but if you lose your lower back, we have to bring one back in, or come back to somewhere else where we can keep that back down. And you're just holding for 15 seconds at one of those places. Unless you need it's too hard, if you need to bring it in a bit, that's okay. But you guys are here, breathing through this for 3, 2, 1, and nice work. Okay, we have one more, then we're gonna repeat our reverse crunches. So we're gonna stay on our back here, lift up our legs. You can rock your hips side to side and walk your thumbs underneath your hips so they're kind of supporting our hips, pushing our lower back into the floor. We're gonna lift our hips up, and this is us for the next 40 seconds. So we're trying our best to go as controlled as possible. Keep our shoulder blades locked onto the floor. Our hands are supporting, kind of hugging our hips here. And we're exhale, pushing our hips up. And it doesn't matter how high your hips get, but the higher, the harder, the more involved it's going to be to get those hips up there. But if you can't quite get them up there, then just kind of work it as you can. You can even work with a leg lift instead of the hip raise if you maybe feel your lower back too much, or you find it's just not happening. That's totally fine, and we'll work our way up to it. And now you rest. Okay, so that was your guys' first set. We're gonna do that 2 more times, and then we are finito. So we're gonna get back into that first one, our half side plank with the leg lift, the ass burner, the hip burner. So let's get it. Starting on whatever side you want, but you know, as you guys are gonna go through this, you're probably gonna find you wanna start on your harder side, which if you don't know which one it is, you can use this set to kind of assess. But usually when you're doing this stuff, the second side that you do is gonna always be harder because both of our hips are working right now, so that when I flip over, they're both still working. So it's gonna be, in theory, just harder as a whole. 15 seconds left, you guys. Stay with us in that position, doing what you're doing. Just keep rocking it out. Let's go. 5 seconds. One more deep breath. And rest. Nice work. Okay, so which sides? We're going to flip it over. Outside. Okay, so again, same thing on this side. Deep breath. Get it up. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. No idea why that did not beep, but it is timing you guys down. So let's go. 30 seconds left. There we go. Good work. So chest open, we're breathing, hips forward, trying not to hold our breath more than anything else. 15 seconds, you guys. Yes! There you go. Don't give up on it. Breathe. 3, 2, 1. Rest. Okay. On our back. Yeet, 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 yeet. Breathe. Hold. So if you know what level you should be at, you can go straight there. I'm showing you guys this sequence to get into it because I want to show you all the different levels. So again, we can start off in this dead bugging position, arms extended down, lifting the shoulder blades off the floor. That's most important. Squishing the back down is actually most important. Shoulders off the floor, and then we can extend the arms back. And this might just be where you need to be, holding this here. You might feel shaky, like you can't really keep your back down, but you still can, and then you'll just hold it here. If it's not that hard, you can extend 1 or 2 legs and just breathe into that position. You guys have 10 more seconds here, so just stay with it. Focus on your breath. You have this. Don't give up. 3, 2, 1. Okay, now you can rest. Good job, you guys. I know that one is like way harder than it looks. Okay, we're doing the reverse crunches. So again, you can walk your hands in, support your hips on either side. I'm gonna be lifting those hips up and down. When we're going through these crunches as well, you guys can note that I'm not lowering my legs down between each rep. I'm just lifting them and lifting them. I'm not coming down and touching the floor, but if you were to do that, it's gonna make this a lot harder. So if you do wanna make this a bit harder, you can work with this lowering down at the bottom, and it's gonna be a lot harder. But you might not need to do that. You probably don't need to do that, because just this alone, up and down, it's going to be extremely challenging. For 15 more seconds, especially. Let's do it. There you go, you guys. Come on. Exhale, lift those hips up. You're almost there. In 3, 2, 1. Okay. Last set. Here we are, the final set. So we're going to get into our final set of the half side plank with the leg lift. This is our side plank appearance for the week, so you know, could be worse. We held those minute-long ones last time. So ready? Let's go. Ready or not? Here we go. Final set of them. Let's get it. So working with this little leg lift, keeping our chest open, looking forward or looking up, trying not to look down or down at our hips. Oh yeah, let's go. Last set on the side. You so have this. We're just going to breathe. 15 seconds left. Let's do it, let's do it, let's do it. Three, 2, 1. Nice job, you guys. All right. Woo. A flippity flip. We're going to flip over to the other side. Okay, 40 seconds. That doesn't sound, it's questionable if that sounds like a long time. You have this though. It's your final set. Let's get into it. Just focus on taking these nice deep breaths in this position. Knowing that this is your final set of them. Let's get it in. And you guys are halfway there. You have 20 seconds left. And then you can drop down out of this one for the last time. But until then, we're going to try our best to hold at least that half side plank. 10 more seconds. Keeping it even as per what you did on the first side. So yeah, that means you still got to get to work here. 3, 2, 1. Okay, you guys, nice work. Oh, I know how hard that one is. That is like my nemesis of an exercise. Okay, we're on our back, hollow hold. Second nemesis of an exercise. This one's really hard too, but we're gonna finish it strong. The hollow hold for 40 seconds, trying to work with whatever level we're comfortable / a little bit uncomfortable at. Let's go, you guys. So we're getting into our position where we can keep that back down. If you want to make this one a little harder, we can move the legs away slightly. If you need to make it a bit easier, you can move the legs in more. Something so subtle, so small, makes a huge difference. So especially now when you have 15 seconds left, if you're not going to make it, do something little to make yourself make it. If you find like it's kind of easy, you got 10 seconds left, make it not easy. Okay, but make it still really tight with your back. Holding here. 3, 2, 1. Okay, you guys, the beep is back. Nice work. Reverse crunches are going to take us home, although we're already kind of in our homes. But we're going to finish up with 40 seconds of these reverse crunches, and then we're done. Woo! All right. So we'll support those hips, lifting up the legs, and working with trying to drive those hips up with the exhale. So we'll exhale and try to lift those hips up into the air, which is easier said than done. Trying to explain this one requires a lot to get those hips up. So if you can't quite get them up, you can work with the leg lift, but try your best. You guys have 15 seconds left. Let's see if we can get this in. There you go. Doesn't matter how high, just keep on moving here. Up a 3, 2, 1, and you guys are so done. So done. Amazing job. Okay, so what we're going to do now is flip over, get ourselves going in this hip flexor stretch. This is where I'm going to leave you guys to get your hips stretched out, because we did so much stuff to work the front of our hips, from the lunges, the deadlifts, all the stuff that we did, the hip thrusts. So we're going to take some time here to pelvic tilt and stretch our hip flexors, our quads, maybe a bit into our abs out. So I want you guys to take at least 1 minute and spend it now on both sides of your hips, holding this position. This is probably the most important stretch that you guys do right now. Other ones that you can do as well, after you're done this one, because you're going to stay in this while I show you these, we can stretch our butt out, because you probably want to do that right now. You can do this pigeon stretch. An alternative, same stretch, but just different, is this one we know and love while we're laying on our back. So once you're finished that hip one on both sides, you can come down into this one or the other one that I showed you there and spend another minute, if you have it, holding this on both sides here. Okay? Anything else that you guys want to do? Maybe for your lower back, maybe you want to do a little cat-cow, do the child's pose. You take some time right now and you do your thing, okay? But I'm gonna leave you guys to stretch out, because we are at our hour mark. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Darcy, for joining me live. I will see you guys tomorrow. We have upper bod tomorrow as usual. And yeah, we will go from there. Have a great day, you guys, and I will talk to you soon. Bye. Good job, you guys.